one thing that men don't realize is how much it is the miseducation of sex. It's not actually teaching men how to make love. It teaches them how to make hate. They literally just learn sexual violence and they learn degradation, which girls, I'm not saying that they're perfect. Some of them love that, but they love that in the short run. They then want to transition into normal, like, love making if they really love you and care about you. And they get back to being like, women that just want to cuddles and this, that, and the other, because that's what we're primarily driven by. A woman that wants, to be thrown around for the rest of her life has probably had some kind of damage, because that's usually they kind of settle down. They want that here and there, but usually they settle down with it. The problem with that is men get used to that way of making love, and they can only access that in either hyper promiscuous women or in short-term casual relationships. You can't get that in a 20-year marriage all the time, because there'll be times where she's like, no, because she's comfortable enough to say, no, leave my hair alone today. So whereas they can only access that in really short-term or really promiscuous women. So they end up being sexually compatible with women who are hyper promiscuous. And when you're meeting a woman who's hyper promiscuous, she's going to be 10 times more promiscuous than you, because she's got leverage. A promiscuous woman has far more men available to her than a promiscuous man. So they become compatible on this very extrinsic value. They become compatible, and then they end up losing her to that promiscuity, or they just look for short-term mating, because that's the only woman that can maintain that kind of behavior, because she's only with you for a couple of months and then she can do it and then she leaves. So it gets them almost into a sociopathic way of making love. It's not actually what women find attractive. And the thing is, they think they're learning all these skills and moves, but if you speak to women, they are far more satisfied with men who have not watched porn or been in long-term relationships compared to men who do short-term one-night stands. Some men will be like, I slept with 100 girls this year. If you've slept with so many so many women, and you've got loads of one-night stands behind your belts, that is an indicator you are not good at sex. The man that actually has more long-term relationships is far better, and there's been so much research to support this, because you don't have any repeat customers if you're just doing one-night stands. So you don't learn anything about women, and you don't learn what pleases them, what doesn't please them. Whereas men that have been in long-term relationships, fewer women, but have been there with them longer, they learn how to read a woman's body. Whereas porn addicts learn how to just reenact moves, and there's a complete difference in them. And women are looking for men who read her body rather than somebody who just reads a script that they saw on Pornhub.
Okay, I'm going to take you into nuanced waters.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you said makes total sense for maybe the average person, somebody that doesn't have access to self-awareness, whatever. Going back to this idea of obsessed with vagina, experiencing more women for sure made me better at sex, even though some of them were very brief encounters, no repeat customers. Because if one of them is honest with you about what they like, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, whoa, like I never would have thought of that. That's really interesting.
So little bits of feedback.
Yeah.
But then doesn't that then also suggest then women who've had more experience are going to be better at sex?
Almost certainly.
Yeah, and therefore, how do men fall in love? Through sex. So they're going to end up falling in love with women who are more promiscuous.
Something breaks for me with my personality on that train. So again, you're probably speaking to averages.
And I'm speaking to younger, I think, generation that grew up on Instagram, and that is their preferences, and haven't experienced loyalty in relationships. But if we are suggesting that more experience leads to better sex, then men always fall in love with the woman that gives them the best sex. They're going to fall in love with the more promiscuous woman overall. In the real world, that's who they're going to be most attached to. And therefore, what are we rewarding? And then we're complaining that women are so liberal and women are no longer mothers and women. It's because you're falling in love with the women that know how to handle you sexually best, rather than the women that know how to actually give you a good life best.
Yeah, it's interesting though. If somebody can't figure that out, I worry a lot about them. So this is an inverted you. So everything, when you talk about this, it's like, look, I am scared for people that I know and love.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of young guys on the staff, and I don't know if they have my skill set and would be able to navigate that.
We take it for granted because we would think it's common sense, but it's not common sense, unfortunately. It's really not common sense. And you'll know it's not common sense by how much of a reaction I get when I say it. It's so common sense to us that you would think people would just scroll past my thing and not even think twice about it. But the fact that people will literally foam at the mouth when I say it means that it's unfortunately not common sense. Isn't it bizarre that it's not common sense?
Nothing surprises me anymore.
Nothing surprises us, yeah.
So Well, if it's not common sense, let's give it to people. So this is going to be an inverted U in my estimation from sexual experience standpoint. 0 is problematic, and somewhere, I mean, if I'm going to put numbers on it, somewhere probably north of 25. I'm talking for guys.
That's a lot, no?
It starts to be 25.
Yeah,
that is a lot.
Is it a lot or not a lot in this day?
Oh, in this day and age, I
It's
would
probably
assume
not.
it's not.
Yeah, it's probably not. Yeah.
But that to me is you're for sure going to be on the side of like, okay, now we are.
Women.
You probably knew women somewhere around 7, 8, 9, 10 in there, like you've had enough variety. But anyway, if somebody got to 25, going back to this idea of obsession with vagina, nature squeezes your brain in a way you can't imagine when you're having sex with a novel female. It's really unbelievable. Now, I love that I can talk to my wife about this because I'm like, you just don't understand. Like there are few things that are as gripping as that.
And I can't speak for all women, but from a female perspective, there's nothing more, for me, there would be nothing more traumatizing than having to sleep with somebody new.
Yeah.
Isn't that so weird?
It is because I'm obsessed with evolutionary biology, it is not weird in the slightest.
Yeah.
Everything about evolution predicts that would be true. So in a world where you could die having kids and I could impregnate somebody in 4 minutes, never see them again, and now I have a child that's out there somewhere, our strategies are just so
totally
different.
opposite.
So you have to develop a detective agency for a brain. Anybody that hasn't read it, I highly encourage you to read the book A Billion Wicked Thoughts.
A Billion Wicked Thoughts.
And they talk about this idea of the detective agency. So a woman has a detective agency. Is this guy going to be good? Are they going to have access to resources? Are my kids going to be okay?
Yeah.
All that stuff. Can I trust him?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. A guy is just like, am I going to be able to get her pregnant?
Am I climaxing?
Yeah. So it's very, very different strategies. Now, guys are more likely to have a child that survives if they also invest, at least for a short period of time.
Yeah.
So we are, by way of species, we are very much in the middle. So, which you can tell by the size of testicles. I don't know if the audience cares about this. But so humans have testicle size that puts them right in the middle. If we were very monogamous, we would have tiny testicles because we would not.
What animals have that?
There's certain gorillas that have tiny testicles, because they basically hoard all the females, so they don't have to. There's no sperm competition. Whereas you get some animals where they have gigantic testicles because they're just everybody's having sex with everybody, and so it's tons of sperm competition. Humans are somewhere in the middle. So. Anyway, going back to this idea of the inverted U, a little bit of, no experience is bad, as you get a reasonable amount, it's good.
I would agree with you. I would probably, look, morally I would disagree, but I guess in terms of empirical and stuff, I can agree, I can understand why that. And I would say the same applies to women. As the body count increases, they learn something about male bodies from each man, a different preference, and therefore she comes like with a menu full of treats for a man, which is totally fine, but then just don't claim you want a good woman. Claim you want an experienced woman.
Well, we have to define what we mean by good woman.
Because here's the thing, I work with men and women. Yeah, I work primarily with men, but I have, a lot of female clients. And the only women that are struggling to find a partner are ones that are actually wife material. You speak to a woman who has no intention of settling down, who is very good at, performing sexual acts and stuff. She has no problem meeting men. She's constantly surrounded by men. So it's just the message that men are giving online is that they want good women and stuff, but it's not in line with their behavior. And I just wish there was more honesty about what you truly want out of a woman. And once you give women that honesty, they know. Because I know men who will say, my wife, she just stopped having sex with me years and years ago. And that's the primary thing. And I was like, but have you mentioned this to her? Have you said this to her? I said it once or twice, joking. They're like scared to voice it. They're scared. So that lack of honesty about how important sex is, so many women will say, oh, he never really spoke about it. I didn't even know that he was so deprived. He seemed fine about it. They don't talk about their true needs. And I get it sounds predatory, but it's better to give women that information than to hide it and mask it and tell women, no, we don't want promiscuous, we don't want this. But then they go through life thinking that's what you truly want, but that's not what you're rewarding at all. So it's giving women a really misinformation about how to actually attract a partner.
What do you think women believe they need to do to attract a partner?
Women believe that in order to get a good man, you have to be quite reserved sexually. They also believe that you have to, be quite submissive and tolerant, and you have to be quite very agreeable. That's what the message women are getting that you have to do to attract a woman. What's really getting rewarded is hypersexual, incredibly sexy rather than beautiful, that gets rewarded, and somewhat confrontational. They reward women that give them some pushback.